I remember the exact moment everything began to unravel, though I wish I could forget it. It was a chilly autumn evening, the kind where the air feels too sharp, cutting through any pretense of warmth. My husband and I were sitting in the living room, trying to make small talk after dinner, but the words felt forced, like we were strangers sharing a space rather than partners sharing a life. That night it started with a minor disagreement about something trivial, yet it quickly spiraled into accusations and bitterness. His voice, usually calm and steady, grew sharp and cold. I felt a lump form in my throat as I realized the man I loved was slipping away into someone I barely recognized. Arguments became our new normal. Each one left wounds that didn't heal but festered beneath the surface. We stopped listening and started preparing our next strikes instead. The home that once felt like a sanctuary transformed into a battlefield where every glance and every word felt like a challenge. I tried to hold on to find the reasons behind the anger, but the more I reached out, the more he pulled away. His silence was deafening, and when he did speak, it was often to blame or criticize. I felt like I was walking on eggshells, unsure when the next explosion would come. Friends started noticing the change in me. Their concerned questions felt intrusive, but I knew they were right. The light in my eyes was dimming, replaced by exhaustion and anxiety. I began to dread going home, that place where love should have lived, but was now just a reminder of everything falling apart. One night, after a particularly fierce argument about something neither of us could fully explain, I sat alone in our bedroom, tears streaming down my face. I asked myself how it had come to this, how two people who once dreamed of forever ended up so broken and bitter. I realized then that the fights were never really about the surface issues. They were symptoms of deeper wounds, unspoken disappointments, and unmet needs. We were both hurting, but instead of healing together, we were tearing each other apart. For weeks, I wrestled with the decision that was beginning to form in my mind. Should I stay and try harder, or was it time to let go? The thought of leaving was terrifying, yet the idea of staying felt like a slow death of my spirit. I began to document our conflicts, trying to make sense of the patterns and my own feelings. Each entry was raw and painful, a mirror reflecting the cracks in our foundation. I wrote about the loneliness I felt even when we were in the same room, about the cold shoulders and sharp words that became our communication. Despite everything, a part of me still hoped we could fix what was broken. I suggested counseling, hoping that an outsider's perspective could help us bridge the growing gap. He agreed at first, but soon stopped attending sessions, retreating further into silence and resentment. The house felt emptier every day, filled with echoes of arguments past and the heavy weight of unspoken truths. I found myself talking to the walls, to the shadows, searching for comfort in a place that felt increasingly foreign. One afternoon, I overheard him on the phone, his voice low and tense. He was speaking to someone I didn't know, and the words were vague but laced with frustration and despair. It was the first time I truly saw how much he was struggling, and it broke my heart all over again. I tried reaching out, but he pushed me away, saying he needed space. The distance grew, and with it, a sense of helplessness that gnawed at me daily. I felt trapped between my love for him and the growing pain of our fractured relationship. One evening, I found myself sitting on the porch, staring into the darkening sky, wondering if this was what marriage was supposed to be. Was this the reality of forever, fighting, silence, and heartbreak, or was there still hope to be found in the broken pieces? The tension in the house reached a breaking point the night we both raised our voices so loudly that our neighbors must have heard. I don't even remember what the fight was about anymore. It was the exhaustion, the frustration, the helplessness all spilling out in a flood of anger and tears. After that night, the silence was even more suffocating. We avoided each other's eyes, the air thick with resentment and regret. I felt like a ghost in my own home, a spectator watching a love story unravel without knowing how to stop it. I started spending more time at work and less time at home, trying to escape the overwhelming heaviness that followed me everywhere. But even in the busy office, my mind was tangled in thoughts of what we once had and what we were losing. My friends offered support, but I often brushed them off, ashamed to admit that my marriage was crumbling. I felt isolated, trapped in a silent battle that no one else could see or fully understand. One afternoon, I found a note slipped under the bedroom door. It wasn't long, just a few words. "I don't know how to fix this." It was the most honest thing he'd said in months, and reading it felt like a punch to the gut and a small glimmer of hope all at once. That note marked a turning point for me. It was a quiet admission of pain and confusion, a crack in the armor we both wore to protect ourselves. I realized that maybe we were both lost, struggling to find a way back to each other, but unsure how. Despite the small hope, the fights continued. Sometimes they were about the past, sometimes about the future, but always they left us feeling more distant and alone. I began to question if love alone was enough to survive such relentless conflict. One weekend, we sat down and tried to talk without yelling. It was awkward and painful, but for a brief moment, it felt like we remembered who we were beneath the anger. I clung to that moment, desperate to believe it could be the start of something new. But the reprieve was short-lived. Old wounds reopened, and the cycle of conflict resumed with even greater intensity. The emotional toll was crushing, and I found myself withdrawing further, protecting the fragile parts of me that still hoped for peace. I started seeing a therapist on my own, someone to help me understand my feelings and navigate the storm raging inside me. Those sessions became a lifeline, a place where I could finally speak without fear of judgment or anger. Through therapy, I learned to set boundaries and recognize that my well-being mattered. It was a difficult realization that I couldn't pour from an empty cup, and that sometimes love meant knowing when to let go. The hardest part was accepting that walking away didn't mean I had failed. It meant I was choosing myself, my sanity, and my future over a relationship that was slowly destroying both of us. I began to prepare quietly, sorting through memories and belongings, trying to decide what to take with me and what to leave behind. Each item felt heavy with meaning, a symbol of moments both painful and precious. The night I finally packed my bags, the house felt impossibly silent. I tiptoed through rooms that once echoed with laughter and love, carrying only what I could hold and a heart full of mixed emotions. As I stood at the door, ready to step out into the unknown, I glanced back one last time. It was a look filled with sorrow, relief, and a flicker of hope that maybe, someday, peace would find its way back into my life. Walking away wasn't easy. Every step felt like leaving a part of myself behind. But it was also the most courageous thing I've ever done, a declaration that my happiness and health mattered just as much as anyone else's. Since then, the road hasn't been smooth. There are days filled with doubt and loneliness, but also days of clarity and strength. I'm learning to rebuild, piece by piece, discovering who I am outside the shadow of conflict. I share this story not because I have all the answers, but because I know how isolating it can feel. If you're struggling in silence, know you're not alone, and sometimes walking away is the first step toward truly finding yourself. The journey is far from over, and I still wrestle with the memories and what-ifs. But each day, I'm choosing healing over hurt, peace over pain, and hope over despair. And that choice makes all the difference. Sometimes people ask me if I regret it. The truth is, there's a bittersweetness to it all. I miss what we had and mourn what was lost, but I don't regret fighting for my own dignity and happiness when love wasn't enough. I don't know what the future holds, and that uncertainty can be frightening. But I do know that I'm standing on my own 2 feet, ready to face whatever comes next with a heart that's learning to heal and a spirit that refuses to be broken. Every day brings new challenges and new lessons. Some moments feel like stepping backward, others like leaps forward. But through it all, I'm discovering the strength I never knew I had. Sometimes the hardest battles we fight are the ones within ourselves. Choosing to walk away meant facing fears, doubts, and the pain of loss head-on, but it also opened the door to self-discovery and freedom. I've come to understand that marriage isn't just about love, it's about respect, communication, and growth. When those things disappear, staying together can become more damaging than walking away. For anyone reading this who feels trapped in a similar situation, I want you to know it's okay to prioritize yourself. It's okay to seek help, to set boundaries, and to choose peace over chaos. My story isn't one of bitterness or blame, but of survival and hope. It's a reminder that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to let go and trust that better days lie ahead. I still carry the scars, but they are a testament to my journey, not a mark of failure. They remind me that even in the darkest times, there is light to be found if you're willing to look for it. The path to healing is winding and uncertain, but each step forward is a victory. I'm learning to embrace the unknown with courage and to celebrate the small moments of joy that come my way. In sharing this, I hope to reach others who are struggling beneath the surface, to let you know that your feelings are valid and your choices matter. You are not alone, and there is strength in walking away when the time is right. Life after leaving wasn't what I expected. It was harder in some ways, easier in others, but it was real, honest, and full of the possibility for growth and renewal. Every day, I wake up grateful for the chance to rebuild a life on my own terms. It's a slow process, filled with ups and downs, but it's mine, and that makes all the difference. I still think about him sometimes, about the life we dreamed of and the love we shared. But I've learned to hold those memories gently without letting them weigh me down. There's a freedom in choosing yourself, in knowing that your happiness doesn't depend on someone else's approval or presence. It's a lesson I wish I'd learned sooner, but I'm thankful to have discovered it at all. The silence that once felt suffocating now sometimes brings peace. It's a space where I can breathe, think, and slowly heal the wounds that ran so deep. I'm not perfect, and I still have moments of doubt and sadness, but I'm also growing stronger every day, learning to trust myself and my instincts once again. Walking away wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of a new chapter filled with uncertainty, but also hope and possibility. I'm sharing this not to say I have all the answers, but to offer a glimpse into the messy, painful, and sometimes beautiful reality of choosing peace over pain. If you find yourself in conflict, don't be afraid to seek help, to speak your truth, and to make the choice that's best for you, even if it means walking away. There's no shame in choosing yourself. Sometimes that choice is the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for everyone involved. My hope is that by telling my story, others will find the courage to face their own struggles and to believe in the possibility of healing and happiness beyond conflict. The road ahead is unknown, and that's scary, but it's also filled with potential for new beginnings, new joys, and a life lived authentically and fully. Every day, I remind myself that it's okay to feel broken and hopeful at the same time. That complexity is part of being human and part of moving forward. This isn't the end of my story, just a pause in a chapter. There's still so much to learn, so much to heal, and so much to discover about who I am without the shadow of conflict hanging over me. I'm learning to listen to my own needs and to honor the parts of me that crave peace, love, and respect. It's a slow, sometimes painful process, but it's also deeply freeing. I don't know where this path will lead, but I'm walking it with open eyes and an open heart, ready to face whatever comes with courage and grace. Looking back, I realized that walking away wasn't giving up. It was standing up for myself and my future. It was a declaration that I deserve happiness and healing, no matter how difficult the journey. I hope that sharing this helps someone else feel less alone, less afraid, and more empowered to make the choices that are right for them. Marriage is hard, and sometimes love isn't enough to keep two people together. But that doesn't mean you have to stay and suffer in silence. There's strength in vulnerability, and there's power in choosing yourself, even when it's the hardest thing you've ever done. For now, I'm focusing on healing and growth, on rediscovering joy in the small things, and on building a life that feels true to who I am. I'm still navigating the emotions and the memories, but I'm doing it on my own terms, with the support of those who care and the determination to live fully. Sometimes the hardest part is letting go of the future you thought you'd have, but holding on to something that hurts you isn't love, it's fear. I'm learning to be brave enough to face the unknown and gentle enough to forgive myself for the mistakes and pain along the way. This story is still unfolding, and I'm here, telling it as honestly as I can, hoping to connect with others who might be walking a similar path. No matter where you are in your journey, remember that your feelings are valid and your well-being matters. Choosing peace is never the wrong choice. There's so much more to say, so many moments to share, but for now, I'll leave it here, open, honest, and still moving forward, one day at a time.